Join the Comgiverse Patreon for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes access, and special perks. Support the channel and connect with a community of revolutionary intellectuals and scholars. Click the link in the description to join now.
So we have a very, very interesting story in Somalia. Apparently, Somalia has offered some ports in the vicinity of Somaliland, on the Somaliland portion of the coast, to the United States as a geopolitical chess move against their long-term enemies. Now, being in a region that has a lot of Somali people, I have seen many Somalians or Somalis who promote Somaliland, former British Somalia. That's what it was known back in the colonial period, as opposed to Italian Somalia or Somalia proper today. And, many of them do not consider Somalia to be their country. They do not identify with Somalia. They are not in favor of Siad Barre. They view him as a tyrant, etc., etc. And they wish that Somaliland, would be its own independent country. There are so many different Somali people that I've seen, that I've met, who advocate for that. And I've also seen others who advocate for the unity of Somalia, even some of them promoting Greater Somalia, taking parts of Kenya, the North Federal District, and the Ogaden Peninsula in Ethiopia. So it runs the gambit. And it's so interesting to see, this clan warfare and tribalism on Africa. People who are looking at this from a tribalist lens try to use the United States military as a geopolitical chess piece, right? So this is from an article from the AP. A leaked draft letter from Somalia to Trump offers U.S. exclusive access to bases and ports. The draft of a letter from Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud to U.S. President Trump offering exclusive access to air bases and seaports has reignited tensions between Somalia's government and the breakaway region of the Somaliland. In the letter, Somalia offers exclusive operational control over the Berbera and Baledogle air bases in the ports of Berbera and Bosaso to bolster American engagement in the region. The U.S. for years has helped Somali forces with airstrikes and other support against the Al-Shabaab extremist group and an affiliate of the Islamic State. The letter, dated March 16th and leaked on social media last week, speaks of ensuring uninterrupted military and logistical access while preventing external competitors from establishing a presence in this critical corridor. The letter was confirmed as an authentic draft by a senior official in Somalia's foreign ministry who spoke on condition of anonymity because he was not authorized to give press interviews. The official was not sure if the final letter, which made the same offer, was sent. A spokesperson with the U.S. Embassy declined to comment. One of the ports, Berbera, is in a key city located in Somaliland, whose long assertion as an independent state has not received international recognition. Somaliland's president, Abdirahman Mohammed Abdullahi, speaking during an Eid al-Fitr address on Saturday in Hargeisa, called the Somali president's move dangerous. Abdullahi warned the international community not to be misled and reiterated that any nation willing to engage with Berbera must do so through Somaliland's elected leadership. Somaliland governs itself, controls its own land, sea, and airspace, and makes its own decisions, he said. Somaliland, a former British protectorate, declared independence from Somalia in 1991, following the collapse of the central government. It maintains its own government, security forces, and currency, and has held elections. The incident underscores the complex geopolitics of the region. Somaliland last year signed an agreement with neighboring Ethiopia, a landlocked country, granting it access to the sea to build a port. Somalia condemned the agreement and criticized Ethiopia for what it called interference. Somalia's federal government has also faced uncertainty over its relations with Puntland, a semi-autonomous region whose port city of Bosaso was mentioned in the leaked draft. Puntland has not commented. So this is very, very interesting. We're seeing, just these different tensions with regards to Eastern Africa. And this is very, very fascinating because they brought up Puntland, which is another autonomous territory of Somalia, right? And that was formed in 1998. And it was a member state of Somalia until its, dissolution or its separation in 2024 recently. So you have a lot of breakaway movements on the African continent. We know about the issues between Ethiopia, the Tigray region, and Eritrea. We know about the issues between Somalia and Kenya, Ethiopia and Somalia, so on and so forth, about the disputed territories. And this is something that the East African community was supposed to mitigate in unifying these populations, in removing the barriers to trade, in setting up the framework to reestablish some of these boundaries. This is what's supposed to happen with the Eastern African community, but it has not yet happened due to a variety of hesitance and a variety of missteps that happen from the AU on a continental level, as well as local leaders taking advantage of their positions of power. So if this is true, this could be another example alongside Congo, where you have some puppet leaders on the continent who are willing to sell their people out, even sell their enemies out, just for some bread, for some paper, for some access. The fact that they're giving them access to their enemy's territory is a way to limit the influence of Somaliland with respect to the Somali government. And this is another case that we can see from the Ma'afa, from, the 15th to 16th century until now, the way that African populations, black people, have historically sold each other down the river for their own personal individualist benefit. Which is why I say to a degree that tribalism is toxic, it's poison, it's hyper-individualism in many cases, microstates. A bunch of microstates will not be able to defeat the imperialist, which is a global hegemon. It's going to take the international unity of black and African descended populations in order to get this done. And anybody who doesn't realize that is not living in the modern world. They're literally living in a fantasy land. A lot of these idiots try to say that, Pan-African unity is fantasy, but they don't say that about the European Union. They don't say that about these different international trade agreements. They don't say that about the OECD states, OPEC, these different cartels of commodities. They never say that unity is a problem when it comes to those who control the global economy. They always say it's a problem when it comes to black people fighting back against imperialism. So this is just an instance where we need that mindset, that Garveyite mindset. I mean, Garvey had a lot of love for the Somali people. He called his headquarters in Jamaica Somali Court, because he respected the role that they had in terms of resisting imperialism, especially, that which they call Mad Mullah by the British. The British call, one of Somalia's greatest leaders, the greatest resistors against imperialism, Mohamud ibn Abdallah Hassan. They called him Mad Mullah, and he was one of the great revolutionary leaders of the dervish movement, right? So Garvey, having known about him and many of the other individuals throughout Somali history, he named his personal headquarters in Jamaica Somali Court. So there's a long history. I have it on one of my shorts on the channel dealing with the legacy of Somalia and Pan-Africanism, and how Somali Wayne or Pan-Somalism is rooted in Pan-Africanism, and that we have to reinvigorate that to be in order to stop situations like this. Because the Somali people, they want to see their homeland develop. They're very proud people. They're very, connected with the African community, especially where I live out here in the West Coast. So this is something to look at, and we should oppose this first of all, but fight for a more unified African-centered approach where all of the stakeholders on the ground can meet. And when these different individuals are just unable to use, these Western leaders as a way to drive a wedge in between African nations, that's something that we should always want to avoid. And that's something that I'm going to continue to fight against on my channel, and just fight for more, deeper African unity. With that, that's all I got. Peace.
Join the Comgiverse Patreon for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes access, and special perks. Support the channel and connect with a community of revolutionary intellectuals and scholars. Click the link in the description to join now.